So, 2 weeks ago, HsquidReviews talked about issue 150 of Archie Sonic. And I'm sure a lot of people are always wondering why folks like myself and now even Hsquid reviews and others like Cyberpunk Jordan, why we all kind of loathe, kind of talk about 150 with disdain. Well, it's real simple. You see, outside of Ian Flynn doing the thing he did with Fiona and that whole fiasco, which a lot of fans in their own way will retcon for the better, basically 150 is looked at as one of the worst, if not the worst, issues in Archie Sonic history, if not in all of Sonic comic history, Archie, Fleet Ray, IDW, you name it. But not only is it looked at as one of the worst, for that reasoning, it's looked at as one of the worst because of what occurs. You see, out of all the anniversary issues we've had, every single one has had, some epicness of importance, if you will, to it. 25 had it, 75 had it, 100 had it, 50 most definitely had it. 125 had it, 100 to an extent had it, 175 had it, 200 had it, 225 had it, 250 to an extent kind of had it, not really, but still, and even 275 had it to an extent, but still. But you get the idea, You get the idea of what I'm saying. Most of the time, with a few exceptions, the anniversary issues were always looked at as the utmost importance. They were looked at as being, the issues were either you started something to conclude it later, or it was used to be concluding something. 175, it started the whole, Eggman going insane arc, if you will, that concluded with 200. Issue 47 started the whole Endgame thing, which ended with issue 50. Issue 75 concluded the whole satellite mystery and who was behind it with the revelation that it was Robo-Robotnik, aka Dr. Eggman. 100, maybe not as much, kind of wrapped around the whole Sally being the chosen one by the Sword of Acorns situation. 125 basically was a pseudo-comic sequel to Sonic Adventure known as Sonic Adventure 2.5 Alpha and Omega. So there was always some kind of importance. Sonic 25 celebrated 25 issues of the comic, but also subtly adapted Sonic CD. You get the idea, right? A lot of the anniversary issues always meant something, and despite them maybe not being as meaningful as others, 100 could be questionable, like I said, because of the Sally Sword of Acorns thing there. People could say that, 175 may not have been a big deal. Oh, well, it was a big deal because, again, that was the start of the whole Eggman going insane deal. And it was a transition of Knothole gone, now here's New Mobotropolis, and Nicole coming into her own. So there was importance there. But then you look at 225 and how it led us into the Sonic Genesis miniseries to celebrate, the anniversary of Sonic. And then, of course, that led us into the godforsaken Mecha Sally arc, which I really didn't care for, and I don't think anybody else did. And then, from there, the anniversary issues, they kind of influxed a little bit because they basically took place during crossovers with Mega Man. But still, be that as it may, basically, they still served some kind of importance. Maybe not as important as the others, but they still served it. Even the IDW comics, when they hit their anniversary issues, they kind of, use those anniversary issues to either start something or end it, or at least kind of give middle ground where it belongs, if you catch my drift. But out of all the anniversary issues, even the ones with Fleetway, why is 150 looked at as the most loathed and disdained anniversary issue out of all of them, if not, the most loathed and disdained issue, period? Well, it's like HsquidReviews and others like Cyberpunk Jordan and others amongst them have said. This issue is loathed and disdained due to the fact of what occurs in the book. You see, we as readers at first, although I'm sure some of us caught on to it later on, kind of figured that something was up with Sonic, not knowing that that wasn't really Sonic. It was evil Sonic, later to be known as Scourge. And even though we could accept, okay, it's the old switcheroo and basically evil Sonic is enjoying his newfound fame and he's liking life, and it kind of is similar to what Carl Bowlers wanted, because from what Bowlers wanted to do originally with this concept was make evil Sonic kind of be in confliction with himself, like maybe he likes being a hero, so he's got to get rid of the original to make that happen and stuff like that. Even though it's got some elements of that, all the rest was thrown out the window, because what Ken Penders did when he took over was basically use 150 to not only utilize some of those elements, but then just make, Sonic, who everybody thought was Sonic, turn out to be nothing more than a playa, if you know what I mean. Flirting with all the girls and everything, until finally scoring, as Cyberpunk Jordan puts it, with Bunny. And then, of course, the implication of what happened with him and Bunny in the issue, that right there is one of the main reasons why nobody likes this anniversary issue or the issue that follows it. Mainly because of what's implied. Not just with Bunny and evil Sonic, who she thought was Sonic, but also in 151 was Rouge and Locke, which really didn't sit well with people either. The point that I'm getting at is that moment in 150 in the overall arc is what really just sickens people. Because in case you don't know, when Carl Bowlers was writing the book originally, he intended for Bunny and Antoine to break up because Antoine had gotten a scar in his eye, and basically because he was injured in battle, he had a change in demeanor, and it just had a domino effect that ruined everything for them. But Ken didn't like that. Like a lot of us, Ken didn't like that. And he said, no. Hold on. No. We're not doing that. Instead, we're going to go this route. And he decided to opt for, it's not really Antoine, it's evil Antoine. And it's due to evil Sonic, as we find out in 150, throwing him into this dimension and then spying on him and seeing how good he's having it, that basically roped evil Sonic to say, hey, if he's got it good, I want it good too. And the rest is history. The rest is history. But the point I'm getting at and others get at is it's that moment in 150, between Bunny and evil Sonic that really just gets under people's skin. Because Ken Penders, after getting questioned online about it, goes out and says that, Bunny and Antoine got back together, and even though Antoine would find out later on, or if he found out later on, that Bunny did what she did, he would forgive her for her transgressions. And a lot of people look at that and it's like, what are you talking about? What transgressions? Because one, a lot of people point out that Bunny, according to Ken Penders, didn't know that the Antoine that broke up with her was evil Antoine, nor the Sonic she was trying to, bounce back with and trying to have a normal romantic life with was not the real Sonic. It's like, what are you talking about? What transgressions? And the reason people question, what he said there is because, again, it's like, how could she have any transgressions when she didn't have any clue? Because I think what a lot of people point out when they talk about this and point that out is if she had an idea, if she knew that, hey, this Antoine ain't my Antoine, this is the evil guy, there's no way she would have done what she did. That instead, she would have gone on a side quest herself to find her real Antoine, bring him home, and put this guy back where he belongs, which eventually did happen in the Line of Succession story, which was one of Ken's last main stories that he wrote for the book. it's just that when you look at 150 and Ken's response about it, this is why people loathe it. They loathe it because it shows that what Ken was doing here was not only, in character-wise, showing how despicable and how disdain and how distasteful and disrespectful, and how manipulative Evil Sonic was, but it showed how far he was willing to go in that perspective to be with women, including taking advantage of somebody who didn't know that the guy that broke up with her was not the guy she had been with. So it's just one of those situations to where, it's just one of those situations to where, you look at this story and you understand, okay, they wanted to do the whole switcheroo thing, and so on. But when you look at this story, it's like, why? Why go this route? And then why even try to justify it? It just did not make sense with anybody. It didn't. It didn't make sense with the readers. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense with the readers at that time. I'm sure it didn't make sense with the guy that took over after Ken was done, Ian Flynn. It didn't make sense to anyone. I'm sure Carl Bolas looked at that and he was like, what sense does this make? My idea would have made more sense. And guess what? A lot of people agree it would have made more sense. But yet, it's just one of those stories to like, how does this make any sense and why are you trying to justify it? Because there is no justification. 150 is looked at as one of the most disdained, most loathed, most hated issues in any Sonic comic, period, because of what's done here. Not just with evil Sonic posing as the real Sonic, flirting with all the girls, but then doing what he did with Bunny. And one thing that people point out, like Cyberpunk Jordan and others, HsquidReviews even kind of points this out. He doesn't say anything really about it, but he does point it out in his own way, that when you look at the original dialogue, when you look at the dialogue, and everything, the difference, if you will, between, in that panel, I should say, not in between, but in that panel where Bunny and Evil Sonic, who she thinks is Sonic, are waking up from the nap, you look at the dialogue, the speech bubbles, and you notice that it seems to have been a little bit of an edit. Like, certain words are, lightly, are typed in regularly, but then, different words are added, but different words and sayings are in there, and they're depicted in bold letters. And it's like, why is there a difference in, lettering? What's going on here? And the only thought process people would have, is an edit change. There had to be an edit change. And with Ken basically saying what he's saying, pretty much confirms that. He pretty much confirms that, yes, there was an edit change and I was supposed to have something else mentioned there, but I couldn't because it's an all ages comic. It's just one of those situations to where you're like, why? Why go this route? I mentioned before that maybe the reason he went this route with this story and other stories is because he wanted to age up the comic to grow it up along with its fan base. Okay, that's understandable. That is understandable that you want to do that. Not an issue. Not an issue. You want to do that, that's fine, that's understandable. But you have to remember that not all comics need to be aged up. Not all comics need to go that route or to have moments like that to say, hey, we're having a changing of the guard and now this comic's meant for the older readers and stuff. There is not a, I'm trying, and I do apologize if I'm a little distracted. I'm checking something outside my front window. But like I said, there is never a reason to do these kind of things. There's never a reason to do these kind of things because you want to age up a comic. You want to change the dynamic of a comic, then change the dynamic up. Put a note out there. Let people know, hey, we're gonna make this comic a little bit more bolder and mature for the readers, for the fans and everything going forward, and it's not going to be kiddie stuff anymore. If you want to do that, that's fine. At least give people an advance notice of what you're doing. But this is not how you do it. This is not how you do things, if you will. This is not how you do things, period. No matter what the situation is. No matter what the situation is. So to me, when I look at this, it's understandable why people are pissed about it. It's very understandable. And again, I do apologize if I'm a little distracted. There's an Amazon truck outside our front window, so it's kind of distracting me. I don't know what the guy is doing. Now he's leaving and everything. But anyway, the point is, you don't have to go this route if you want to age the book up and everything. And also, you don't have to go this route if you're going to take what Stan Lee told Kevin Smith in an interview one time, literally. You don't take, what he said literally by saying, well, I'm going to be leaving the book anyway. I'm going to put what I want to put in there. You can't do that. Not with every comic, not with every adapted comic based on a franchise or whatever. You don't. But yeah, if you're wondering, in closing, if you're wondering why 150, anytime people talk about it, like HsquidReviews did recently, if you're wondering why they talk about it with such disdain and loathness and disgust, what I just said here, as nonsensical as it may have sounded, is the reason. And again, I do apologize for a little bit of distraction. There was an Amazon truck delivering a couple of items to houses across the street from me, from where I live. So I got distracted wondering what they were doing, standing there for so long after they delivered one. But anyway, like I said, in closing, if you're wondering why it's so loathed and everything, you hear Kim Penders trying to defend it and everything. It's like, dude, it's like you need to think twice before you do something. You need to think twice before you do something. Because I guarantee you, when Ian Flynn was coming on board, to take over as the head writer, and he saw that, he was like, what? He was probably thinking, what the hell? This doesn't make sense. This does not make sense. And it didn't. It made no sense whatsoever. Made no sense whatsoever. Period. It's like people would say taking Carl's original idea would have been a better direction. But they didn't do that. They didn't. And it just makes 150, outside of the Fiona Fox betrayal fiasco, the Mecha Sally BS, it makes it one of the worst, if not the worst story that they could have ever done, especially for an anniversary issue. And that's just the plain simpleness of it. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Again, I do apologize if it sounded like I was all over the place, sounded nonsensical. And again, I do apologize if I sounded a little distracted. Again, this is what happens when you get multiple phone calls, from somebody saying, hey, from your mom or your parents saying, hey, I'm doing this, I'm on my way back and stuff, as well as having, Amazon delivering items and staying there with their truck for a certain uncertain amount of time for some reason, and everything. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on what I had to say here. Again, as nonsensical and ramblish as it sounded. Let me know what your thoughts are. I will put a link to HSquid's review at the end here so you guys can check it out. But give me your thoughts. What did you think about 150? What did you think about Ken's response to that scene with Bunny and, evil Sonic, who she thought was Sonic? Give me your thoughts. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. Check out my Teespring store. Link is in the description, as well as links to the other places where you can find my content. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. It will really help me out. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about this? What were your thoughts when you first saw it? What were your thoughts when you first heard Ken try to defend it? And until next time, I'll talk to y'all later.